Hi, I'm the OBG, and today I'm going to be talking about planned obsolescence. And it is a thing. I think there was one time, like many things we talk about, people like me, it was called a conspiracy theory. But it's slowly coming to light, and plus there's historical evidence of it. And I'm here to present some of this for you today. So yeah, what's happening, Boise? Big man, you don't know the importance you got in my life, Boise. I'm gonna share it. There's only a few people. I know, Kai, you'll get this. Boise's from South London. I can't say too much about him, what he's been up to when he was a young man and that. But I was at a party once, an illegal party, and there was this group of bad boys there, you know what I mean? And I weren't sure of them. One of them said something to me, and I kind of seen Boise around before. I didn't know him that well. And I walked over him and I asked him who that guy was. And he said, "Don't worry about it, mate." And he goes, "If you want, I'll go over, I'll beat him up for you, I'll make him cry." And he just took care of things anyway. And I don't know if he's going to remember this, but yeah, I kind of owe that to him. I liked him anyway, but, since then I thought I got his back, always. Hello, Tiffany, Kai, Niklaus. Today I'm going to be talking about planned obsolescence anyway, because... Oh, nice one, Kai. That's nice to hear. Kai does all of the voices for me, man.
So, baby, I will be listening to OBG.
Yeah, that's the voice of Kai Revere. He does the voices. They're better than mine. Anyway, this is mine. If I weren't so tired, I'd walk over there and I'd slap you. And this is Kai.
How about we all just calm down?
Good or what?
A show about the people, by the people.
Hello, David.
For
Hello,
the
President
people.
Von Kroon. So, today I'm going to be talking about planned obsolescence. What's that all about? And it's something that's always bothered me. Now, I love investigating my life and my world and seeing what I can find out about me by investigating the things external to me and by listening to people as well. And occasionally I talk over them, but the people who allow me to talk over them, they're my best friends, and they talk over me too. But we're called conspiracy theorists for saying, oh, you know what, things used to last a lot longer. Even my friend Gary McKinnon said the same thing, that, you look at plastic bottles, you look at plastic bags, it's as if they've put so much into the technology to try and make things as thin as they can. You get a can of deodorant, and I think we've all experienced this. I very, very, very rarely use it. I don't know if I smell or not. I'm into pheromones, natural smell. But if you do spray one, you think, hold on, look at the size of this can. I got about 20 sprays out of that. They must have put so much into the technology to try and get 25 squirts out of, like a 25 centilitre can or whatever size they are. And they do that about everything. They do that in all of the products we use. They, people say, oh, there's a gremlin in the works, and, it's a throwaway saying, but things just don't last as long. So I'm going to talk about that. I think there's enough people here. Let me start, we live in a world where consumerist culture, after years of being patiently and subtly stimulated by many businesses, seems to be taken over. And the advanced progress of the technology industry, which furthermore inevitably triggers a thriving of numerous other industries, allows an unbounded market with endless possibilities and choices for companies to offer. Not to mention the thousands of different channels to reach potential customers all over the globe and to convince them to buy their products. And in the modern capitalist and digital age, in order to inspire consumer splurging and, of course, to drive profit, companies created a new strategy known as planned obsolescence. So I hear you asking, what is planned obsolescence? Well, some of you anyway. Well, planned obsolescence, or as some know it as built-in obsolescence, is a strategic design of goods to be useful for a very short and limited period, after which they become obsolete, or for better understanding, outdated. And planned obsolescence is basically artificially altering the shelf life of products to reinforce people to replace them and buy new ones more quickly. Only products which have been intentionally designed to have limited shelf life are considered a part of any planned obsolescence strategy. And the origins of planned obsolescence can probably be found in the 1920s, especially as a method employed by large companies such as USA's General Electric, Britain's Electrical Industries too, and the Netherlands' Philips, who came together and they formed the Phoebus cartel. And their aim was to deliberately increase the lifespan of light bulbs from 2,500 hours to 1,000 hours, after which they would artificially encourage consumers to constantly buy new light bulbs from them. And it furthermore gained in popularity during the Great Depression of the 1930s, when real estate broker Bernard London suggested that the government should legitimise planned obsolescence as a strategy to revive the economy by encouraging people to buy new and or additional products too, and in many ways encouraging consumerist behaviour. And he made this suggestion with his Ending the Depression with Planned Obsolescence pamphlet. And today there are thousands of companies, mostly in the technology-related industries, that are using planned obsolescence as a business strategy. However, it is banned in many countries because it's considered dishonest, and I think it should be banned in all countries, but also, and even perhaps more so importantly, because it's believed that planned obsolescence worsens the challenges that we as humanity are facing with electronic waste, pollution, and draining the limited resources, as well as using slave labour. And as a result, companies such as Apple and Samsung are currently being investigated by Italian and French prosecutors for deploying this strategy and building it into their goods. And once businesses realised that they could intentionally reduce the life of their products to trigger the increase of sales revenue, many of them embraced this strategy. However, planned obsolescence works successfully, mostly in an oligopoly. I can't say that word. Oligopoly market, where there's little known competition or no competition, and it's controllable, unlike in monopolistic markets with dense competition where consumers have many options. And yet another example of the beginnings of planned obsolescence is General Motors and their attempt to triumph over Ford, which at the time were only producing the Model T, and they dominated the market. And General Motors decided, after following the idea of their CEO, whose name was Alfred P. Sloan, to start introducing a new car model on the market every year. Every next one with a more powerful engine than its predecessor, in different colours and an all-round improved feature set, such as every new model would have when they was released. And according to Sloan, and what he wrote in his autobiography, which was called My Years with General Motors in 1963, each old car should be presented as somewhat frustrating, while the new one is so incredibly tempting for the general consumer that they allow themselves to spend money on buying one every year. And this actually happened during the Great Depression, when most of the people could hardly afford to satisfy their basic needs, which shows how fickle we are and why we're easy to target. And even though Sloan's idea was bold and to many arrogant, it still seems to have helped them succeed in their intentions to be more competitive than Ford, as their sales in 1931 were calculated as much higher than those of Ford, positioning GM as a superior company on the market. In modern times, an example would be print cartridges, for example. There's a more recent planned obsolescence, and most of you are probably familiar with this, but usually you can't really use the entire amount of cartridge before your printer requires changing, and you have to change them so often. And those are usually fairly expensive. And there was a time when you could buy a cartridge for a laser printer and it would last you for 6 months of continual use. And I used to print manuals without worrying about toner. And even more recent, albeit obvious, an example of planned obsolescence is the mobile phone industry, and likely the largest portion of all electronic and tech industries put together. We're tempted and encouraged to replace our old devices, which is usually between 10 to 14 months, with newer models, with better features. And this need for a new device makes you wonder why they made such a fuss of the previous technology in the first place, telling you it's the latest, greatest camera and speed, you won't need nothing, for years to come. And then they release another model 6 months or 12 months later. And nowadays it's only mostly about the camera anyway, with a shitty high megapixel count. And if you use such a tiny sensor, you'll never produce good images. You see, we're all staring at our phones and the images look great, but I'm a photographer, like I said, myself one anyway, and the moment you put it up on a big screen, it looks rubbish. It's a tiny sensor. You could put 1 billion megapixels in there and it won't make any difference. So, in search of strategies that will allow companies to stay dominant on the market and increase their revenues, many companies are turning to planned obsolescence It's a 100-year-old strategy that exploits modern-day consumer mentality. And while some companies may justify this as a direct response to the fast development of new and better technology, for many, especially for environmentally conscious organisations and individuals, planned obsolescence only pushes humanity further from the solutions of many already alarming challenges that we're facing. Many believe and are firmly against planned obsolescence and the consumerist culture that seems to be advancing in full throttle in the so-called modern world. And we're contributing to accumulating electronic waste and polluting the planet while continuing to exhaust Earth's resources, using slave labour and furthermore pollute it with manufacturing, processing on such a massive scale. And many of those will take this centennial light as an example. It's a light bulb that was installed 118 years ago, and it still shines in the fire station in Livermore, California. Albeit not as brightly as at the beginning, but it's perfect proof that planned obsolescence is in place. And if a simple light bulb manufactured more than 100 years ago still shines, it's a beacon of hope, hoping that we start challenging these evil corporations and their planned obsolescence today. We love the gadgets, but we need to take heed of what we're being sold. Be careful what you wish for.
There's a man who contradicts. Wait, he's a type of guy to you. There's no first place, but he's part of a race. Eyes lie, but take a look inside. They mirror the sights you'll see.
Yeah, thanks for listening. Sorry, boys, I saw what you wrote there. That was at that, I don't know, it's an outdoor place in Barking anyway. I got engaged in that. So, yeah, if anyone was here listening, I couldn't respond to you. As I said, I record this, a copy live here, as well as talking to you, so that I can put it on YouTube. So I have to present. But I'm back now. Gene, I've got to come and see you do a stand-up routine one day. I've grown a lot, I will say, but you do drop some gems. Washing machines do the same, they've got a shelf life. Apple, they're the same. Hello, Phil. Hello, Lisa, if you're still there. Alex, Williams, Kai. Okay, yeah, and it's the same thing. Those things. Williams, don't just drop a link. I don't follow them ever, unless you tell me what it's about. Otherwise, I'm just clicking on blind links all day long. It's nice sometimes, I guess, a surprise, and I trust you. But what happens is if I see just links without, check this out, it's about whatever, I don't follow them. I get too many sent to me. I'll click on that one. But yeah, in future, please. Nothing lasts forever except suffering. Yeah, but that's our quest in life. I think one of our quests in life, if you understand that we suffer and you believe that suffering is forever, then you have to work with it, rather than just imagine it shouldn't be there and saying, oh God, I'm suffering. It's like, well, suffering's just part of us, enjoy it. As long as you're not suffering all the time. And also, as a method of softening the blow, I don't know where you are or where you're from, Alex, and I don't mean to be insulting. I'm a straight talker. Sitting there on the internet, watching a show in a house with electricity, with running water. These are assumptions and so on. Your suffering can't be that bad, when you compare it to someone else. And that's not to say you may be sitting there, lost both of your legs in a recent train accident or something. I understand that. But what I mean is, our suffering's nothing compared. The more you travel, the more you see, and you realise we have it easy. I've given up everything I own 5 times in my life, so people know me, my whole house just gone and left everything. And, went down to zero, and look at me now. I'm getting a bit too old. I don't know if I'm going to do it the 6th time, even though I thought about it the other day. But when you have nothing, but you live in Europe, you still don't suffer. And for the people you see on the street who are in the cold and so on, I feel for them too, but once again, a lot of them are in a different place mentally and so on. So it's not as if they have an option. And some of these people had options, and and they found themselves in that position. And once again, if you liken yourself to them, how bad is your suffering? Not meaning to ever go, just explaining it as I see it. Thanks a lot, Williams. I hope that didn't come across as too tough, but thanks. I'll go and take a look. They passed a new law in the States recently, Kai, regarding that. I forget which state it was in, but they did pass a law saying that you know, people have the right to repair. It's called a right to repair law, or bill, I'm not sure. And people have the right to repair even their Apple phones there. And, you know, it's a good move. People campaigned for it and they got it. Because I'm getting upset these days. It's being an old man. Sometimes I think to myself, even when I buy something, unpack it, and they use a hell of a lot of packaging. You take it home, you look at it, you think, you know what, this is going to last me 6 months. And it breaks before that. It's got plasticky bits instead of, you know, like a new kind of plastic instead of that strong old plastic you used to get. Or, you know, the screws screwed into something that's not dead solid and they pop out quite quickly. And you just can't repair it. And they're cheap enough in a way that we can replace them. But that's part of the planned obsolescence. It's like, right, rather than sell something for someone for you know, for £20 that's going to last them a long time, sell them something for £5 and they have to buy this 10 times during that, like, you know, during that period. And, you know, to me it's criminal. It's not immoral, it's criminal. They shouldn't be allowed to do that because they're selling you a product. And often they say things like, oh, it's got a lifetime guarantee, which it has. They're not breaking the law with that. But what it does, it fools our minds. Because you're like, okay, I'm going to buy this. It's got a lifetime guarantee. But that means that they'll replace it for you. But you're buying it on the fact, or on the idea that it's going to last a lifetime. And some of these companies go out of business or disappear and so on. They don't give you lifetime guarantees on the big companies, Apples and so on. But you go to a shop and you know, buy this box of screws and it says, oh, lifetime guarantee from like the Shenzhen company in China, or, you know, John's shop. And the thing is, John's shop ain't there in 5 years' time anyway. And this has got a 5-year lifespan on it. Absolutely. Well, Kai, I'm going to go hard on you this one. The sales don't say stuck on your trainers because you're buying copies. You know, I try not to wear names. It's like, I've explained this one away. There's a Senegalese guy who walks down there who sells moody stuff just so that he can survive. And I like the colour. It's winter. It's my indoor winter top. I'm not going to wear it out with big letters like that on it. But to get back to the point, I don't wear clothes with names, as you know me, people who know. But I always wear trainers with names. And what I did is, before I came to Spain, I made sure I bought a pair of Nike Air. I forget what Air. I don't even know trainers. I just went in the shop. I spent a lot of money on them, and I bought a pair of Reebok Classics, not white, but just a classic style as well. And I spent good money on both of them. Now I thought to myself, you know what? I spent £300 on 2 pair of trainers. I've had them for a year and a half and they're still solid. Now, before, what I used to do is try and be cool and say, I'm not buying name trainers. I buy a pair of Fadidas or like, and then 3 months later the sole falls off and you have to buy another pair. And you think, well, they must be good because I paid £50 for them. And then you end up buying 3 pairs of them in 6 months or like a year. That's £150, and you should have just bought £120 originals in the first place, and they would have lasted you for the next year and the year after. £100 plus, that's what I mean. And the limit keeps going up. You see trainers for like you know, £300, and you're not going to pay that price. There has to be a limit. I think you pay like you know, 150 for trainers and you get a nice pair. Going beyond that's just buying into the name and so on. Or if you're buying specialist trainers like for running or something like that, and even then I think they're fitted when you pay that kind of money. Hello Angie, hello Pam. Pamela, long time. Yeah, so basically I finished that talk. I was talking about planned obsolescence. If there's any questions you want to ask regarding planned obsolescence, any point you want to put forwards regarding planned obsolescence, which is where manufacturers build in life end of life into their products. You know, like you'll buy a phone and it lasts 2 years and then it'll stop working. But not only physically, but also they'll keep trying to sell you a new model next year, which means that your model's obsolete and then you want to buy the new one. And I know this for a fact. See, I've been around technology all my life. It's my profession and so on. And it's not like, oh, I should have the best phone and you shouldn't, even though that was part of it for a while. But, you know, I think I need the latest phone because I'm programming the phones. I need to see what's on there, how they work, also security for hacking. And then I see my mate Tony, who's a plumber, and he's got the latest model too. And I'm thinking, Tony uses Facebook. He doesn't even send emails. He doesn't even know how to use the email, come to think of it. He's still got a Yahoo account from back in the day, but he has the latest phone. And I'm like, why? And it's because we're sold this stuff. We're told that we have to have them. And it really serves enough. Hello, Rianne. I was talking about planned obsolescence, Rianne. If you know much about that, do you want to say anything? If you want to ask any questions? Because I did a bit of a study today so I could present this. Hello, Martin. A long time, my friend. I'm going to go off on a tangent there. This guy, Martin, I knew who he was. I'd seen him, maybe at parties before in the past, at illegal parties that we go to in London. But I didn't know we had a connection. We had a really, really connection from way, way back. It turns out that my dad knew Martin since Martin was a boy. So I obviously knew Martin or bumped into him because I used to go along to see the bands play. Martin's one of the key members of my dad's band. Me and Martin and my dad were like closer to me and my dad. I didn't grow up with my dad. Martin saw my dad much more than I did. Anyway, when my dad passed away the year before in December, who's playing the music at the funeral? Martin Mattox. And I'm like, hey, I know you from the party, you know what I mean? And it was just a pleasant surprise. It was just one of those things in life that happened. Met a great guy, and he played my dad out on his funeral, which to me was a double bonus. Nice one, Martin. I know I talk about it often. Your pencil isn't obsolete. Got anything good to say, Aid? Or have you come here to use it as a platform for your comedy? Yeah, well, I don't know about Samsung slowing phones down, but Apple did. And they claimed it was, well, they had their reasons anyway, but, people said no, it was so that phones didn't appear to work fast, and therefore they'd want the newer models. And I believe that's what's happened as well. Their explanation sounded kind of cool technically as to why they would slow their phones down, but I believe that was hogwash. Pamela, yeah, I'll do that. Let me do that. I'll do that afterwards, Pam. I'll send you a message. Hello, Claire. One of my favourite people. Like you look on someone's wall some days and you're just like, this is what I would have written. This is what I like. This is what I do. And everything that's on there, you feel a little desolate. Just go and look on her wall, and it's like, yeah. We're not losing this battle because there's other people who think the same. The plumber has a phone. Hold on, they later upgrade 6 months selling suppose. Exactly, they do that as well. I said 10 to 14 months, but yeah, I think they're going earlier now. Oh, upgrade to the latest phone. You've had your phone for like 3 days now, and stuff like that. No, I'm not doubting that Samsung didn't happen, but I'm pretty much a technologist as I consider myself, and I listen to all the technology shows, every day, all week, and they always talk about Apple, but I've not heard anyone mention Samsung. So I don't know everything, but what I'm saying is if I don't hear it on these shows, then it doesn't exist for me. Not meaning that it didn't happen back then, I don't know about it. No worries, Aid. You can always go back and watch it, and even then you don't have to. I guess you're here. So hello and good evening, Claire. My favourite DJ. Well, that big do I went to, which she played at. So if you want to talk about planned obsolescence or ask me a question, go ahead, because I'm going to sign off in the next, in a short while.
OBG, live and direct.
Right, okay. I've got a great show lined up on Sunday, by the way, as well. Sunday at 8 o'clock. Do tune in. The shows are really, really getting popular. I'm getting thousands and thousands of you on YouTube, but what I'm hoping for is to create some new character. So I've created a character called Mr. Tough Love, and you can write to Mr. MrToughLove, Mr. Tough Love @gmail.com, and simply pose a question, because Mr. Tough Love is a character, no nonsense. I'm going to hit people hard about every subject. But it's not me, it's a character. So if you want to say things like, I'm behind with my rent, which is what someone sent in already, and my landlord's threatening to kick me out, what should I do? Ask me the tough questions and I'll tell you straight. And I mean tough stuff, because I want stuff coming in like, these guys were being sexist to me. What do you think? Or black people, white people, I don't care. Women, men, religion, sex, whatever it is you have a question about, whatever you have a gripe about, send it to Mr. Tough Love and he'll set you straight. Okay, so that's a character I'll be putting into the show soon. But do tune in on Sunday. Sunday's the main show, the big show. I typically cover 4 topics. Excuse me. And I don't get too much into conversation. The conversations are set for the week. And, hopefully you guys will ask me questions because...
A show about the people, by the people, for the people.
It is a show about the people, by the people, for the people. So I want you guys to keep sending me content. No one has, really. I mean, some people have, don't get me wrong, but not enough. It's like, send something in, send a picture you saw and with a little story. And I can cover your story exactly if you want to write it. If not, just give me a few pointers, what it's about. If I like it, I'll cover it. If you can do graphics like this, send them in. If you colour in like my friend's 6-year-old daughter who done this, coloured this tonight, do me an offer. If you can do a fancy 3D, like in-betweener, do it. And so I don't have to be stuck with these. And as good as they are, I want to change. I want to see something every week. And if you send something in, whatever it is, even if it's a question or something you want me to cover, I'll put your name up in the credits. And that's our purpose in life. We know that, to have our name up in the credits. So, yeah, try and send something in. I've got a tough love answer for that one. It's about tough love, by the way, Kai. So the landlord's not to blame here. If you ain't paying your rent, you're the problem. Do you know what I mean? That's what Mr. Tough Love's about. I ain't being nice to no one. Mr. Tough Love isn't going to be nice to no one. Hello, Marta. Long time. Ray. Nash, yeah, another DJ, another good DJ, solid. So I think everyone's a DJ, but not everyone's good. So any more questions regarding planned obsolescence, or let's move on? You can talk about anything you like, because I know the answers to everything. Let's do that again. Okay, so yeah, winter's on. Winter's coming over here as well in Spain, got to say. It's been warm up until maybe about 3-4 days ago. Got a little cold snap at night. Got to tuck up under that duvet. I'd imagine it's freezing in the UK and has been for a while. We run out of things to say, so we have to go. Martin, please send that question to Mr. Tough Love. Oh no, I just asked for any question. Actually, is it right to piss in the shower? I'm going to go for it. It's not wrong. Put it that way. Pissing in the shower. Who hasn't? In fact, let me see where that is. Yeah, I've got a video. I have a video. I'm going to see if I can find that as we're on. Is it in here? Nope. Is it in here? Nope. Okay. But I've done a story. There's nothing wrong with pissing in the shower. You're getting rid of your waste anyway. Having a little dig up of every orifice in there. Why not let off a little fluid and it's going to get washed straight out with the rest of the stuff. Nothing wrong there. I remember they did a story in the papers once, like it was some new invention. I think these things are set up and planned, to be honest, to distract us sometimes. Sorry to go hard on the conspiracy, but let's say, students done some experiment and some studies, and they realise, it's people. If people piss in the shower, that it saves so many gallons, hundreds of thousands of gallons per year, because people aren't flushing the toilet. And I'm like, wow, that's rocket science. I think everybody pisses in the shower anyway. We don't need to be told. Martin, cheerleader, mate. Parties weren't the same without you. Let's talk about the exclusion of contact sports in our schools and why we were so shy at the sports we invented. We didn't invent the sports, that's why. We take credit for everything. We invented some sports, fair enough. But don't forget, when you're a nation, this is why I talk about cultural appropriation. People don't get it still. When you're a nation that's just going all over the world to every country and taking their shit, you see stuff and you just take it. And then because you're the voice of the world, you just tell everyone you made it. And it's that simple. It's going to sound hard to believe for some people, but that's the way it is. England didn't invent everything or all the sports. And don't forget, merchants were sailing from Africa to England to, like to the United States way before the English were. And, they leave their mark there. It's English history, that's all. We're born in this time. Don't forget, if 200, 300, 400 years' time, who knows, we're not going to exist in this capacity, and there's going to be someone else, like the Chinese, they're going to be telling everyone they invented shit, Oh, we invented everything. We invented tennis, cricket, rap, reggae, and so on, because they're going to be the people who are running the world and telling everyone their stories. But the English, very slowly, I think, we're becoming aware now of the internet and our communication. They went around, murdered everybody, and told their story, or are still telling their story. And we're part of that. We've had all the benefits of it, living in England and so on. But you cannot contain a human mind. The only way to contain or stop a human mind is to actually murder that person, to kill that person. But beyond that, whether you imprison someone, whether you keep on indoctrinating them from birth with stories, at some point that mind's going to want to find out the truth. And this is what we're doing. We're searching for the truth. And I don't mean the eternal truth. To me, that doesn't exist. That's people looking for order. But I mean looking for alternate story to the official story. So sorry to go hard on that, but yeah, that's my answer. Hello, Paul. Hello, Sutia. I do that every week. I'm embarrassed. I've got to get that right in one go. Daniel as well. I didn't see you there. So Claire, push the other down with a foot. I reckon you've been there before. Mind you, I had a laxative once. The rest I'll leave to your imagination. So yeah, Paul was talking about and Sutia, Daniel and Ray, don't think he was in yet. I was talking about planned obsolescence, basically, and how companies building like a set lifetime into their goods, either physically or by promoting their next product 6 months after you've just bought their previous product. So if you want to talk on that, go ahead. If you've got any questions, if not, someone throw me a question about anything. Back to Kai. Sorry, I hammered the sports thing there. The exclusion of contact sports. I wasn't aware of it, but Hi, Paul. The exclusion of contact sports is nonsense. You see, we're very spoiled. Once again, I'm not anti-English. I just don't like a lot of English people. It's the mentality. Hello, Phil. It's the mentality. When you're the ruling nation, when you're the nation that has everything and rules everything, then you believe that you're better than everyone, even on a really deeper level. Even if you are educating yourself, America's guilty of this. Talk to most Americans, I think, who travel, the ones who travel, about America, and they're so blind to everything. And then you bring up the military, and suddenly they're like this. Even the hippies, because they've been indoctrinated. So the point I was getting to relate it to sports is, in England, we're soft. We've got everything. We don't need it. We can start being obese now. We can sit back. We can relax. We can go on 2-3 holidays a year. We can, live off the spoils that the pirates plundered from the rest of the world. So, wanting to bruise our pretty skin and getting into contact sports and making sure that everyone uses the right words is symptomatic of a great nation. And then they fall shortly after that because they become complacent. I talked about the English, even the military, about the fact that they don't actually engage in war anymore. They use missiles and they fight from afar. And once they see they cannot make a dent in those countries that won't join the IMF, who England are fighting on behalf of and so on, they can't send in ground troops, so they back off with their tail between their legs. Everything about England's become soft. And if anything, they've just got a really good secret service, and like the CIA in America, we've got MI5 and other bodies, and all they do is just spy and make sure that this beautiful model that they've created from their wealth isn't destroyed. There's no subterfuge, there's no spies. And when someone does speak up against them, like Julian Assange, well, about Americans in the main, then they'll just break every law known to man, moral, amoral, legal, lawful, and they'll keep a man in prison until his death, which is what they're doing now. And we've seen that historically. But it's all intertwined. That's why it's confusing. The contact sports for me is just the size of a soft nation. You go to some countries and they're playing some hardball games. Australia, savages. I know they're fucking English, really, in the main. But Australians play that contact football game. They'll never ban that. England's got rugby, I get that, but nothing else. And then they start banning it from school, which means that we're getting softer and softer as the years go by. And I don't know why or who's in control of that. I have no theory. Hey, Martin and Martin. Two Martins came at the same time. All Twilight zoned up about that, me. Talking about the Twilight Zone. Right, yeah, I've got nothing more to say. As I said, no one's got any more questions. Then I'll give it one more minute. Then I'm going to sign out. Let's get this show on the road. Go ahead. I'll do this live actually. Let me add a source for that. Come on, you can do better than this. Your cheating heart will make you win. T. Okay, there it is. Another section coming soon. So, yeah, the two Martins came on. It just jogged my memory. So, yeah, we'll have that coming soon. The PG zone. Right, so I'm going to... Who am I voting for? Is that obviously to me? I don't vote. I think it's ridiculous. I think it's absolutely pathetic. In fact, I done a show about it a while ago, and what I said, I'll just go over it quickly. If you had only 3 people who were allowed to vote in the UK, and it counted for everybody, you know, whoever got in, 2 of them are going to vote for one person, and one's going to vote for the other one, which means that for everyone else, you're going to either get someone in power who you wanted or not. So now you increase that number to say 21. Keep it odd always. And the majority, whoever vote for, gets in power, and the minority doesn't. And everyone else has to suffer that, whoever voted in. So now you just put that up to 70 million and say, right, everyone, you go and vote. It's just the same thing, bigger numbers. Someone's going to get in, and a hell of a lot of people didn't want that person in the other. And they're all just politicians. They're playing... You know, they're dancing to the fiddle of the tune of the piper of someone behind them, and it's called The Crown. If you go on YouTube, I beg of you, look at the show I've done a couple of days ago called The Crown. And I'm going to just go so quickly on this, a speed one. The Crown and the Empire and the British Empire were 2 different things. You had the British Empire, and they owned places like India and just a few countries. And you had the Crown Empire, and they owned all the other islands. That's the Crown. They're the savages. They're the people that run the finances of England. They own all the countries with all the offshore accounts in. And they're the people who run Parliament. They have a government underneath them. The government just plays, as puppet to them. And then when these people decide the Crown, they're savage, you know. They're the City of London. You know, it's its own city, the centre of London, the City of London. They've got their own police force and everything. So when the Crown decide we want more money, more revenue, and they want to start a war, for instance, they want to go out into Iran, then they send the orders down to government, and it doesn't matter who's in, whether it's Labour or Conservative, and they say, we want a war, we need to fund it, and whoever's in power will get that money from the taxpayers. So they've got a multitude of ways of funding themselves. It's a fact as well, it's not some conspiracy, the Crown. So I don't vote. What's the point when the Crown are in charge? You may get some favours, you know, some funding done for schools here and there, or, you know, like a little decrease in the tax here and there. Doubt that one. Or some benefit, but overall, there's no benefit to it, so I don't vote. Yeah, there's some merchandise coming soon, Kai. Cheers for that. I've been making some merchandise. I don't want to do it yet and think I'm some superstar. Buy a mug with me on it, and it's like, who are you? But it's not just my Facebook friends and that. As I said, I got, you know, like maybe about 20,000 views on some recent videos, not on one, but, you know, like, you know, accumulated, and they're growing and growing, and I've just started marketing myself, so it's the show's going to grow bigger and bigger, and hopefully I can ask you to do more free stuff for me, but pay you.
Stars were shining brighter than they did before. Then OBG came out of nowhere, yeah. Ooh, yeah.
That's the best voice in the world. Not because you're singing about the OBG, Kai, but you've got just such an amazing voice. I'm always surprised that you didn't make a hard living out of it, to be honest. But never mind. Hello, Tim. I didn't see you there. Right, countdown, 30 seconds. Any more questions?
What are you doing on computer? Go outside, so beautiful!
Just test some of these. Okay. Nothing more to say, nothing more to sue. So on that note, thanks for listening, guys. You may have heard the ragged end of the tonight's show, but if you go back to the replay, listen to the first 7 minutes, that's what the actual show is about planned obsolescence in goods and so on. But thanks for listening, those of you who stayed and communicated. It is a show about the people, by the people, for the people.
You're the...
A show about the people.
Let's make it grow.
By the people.
And don't forget,
for the people.
talked right over that. Tune in on Sunday at 8 o'clock. We've got a special show lined up once again. And look after yourselves. I don't think people really know the true hypnotic power of television. You know how it pulls us in and just keeps telling us to consume, buy, and tells us to hate each other and separates us and causes the greatest divides, all under the name of entertainment. And every time I turn on my TV, it's just like no surprise. It's all of those programs in there pushing out lies. And in between there's the adverts and they do it again. And they're trying to convince us that we're friends. And they have us trained like good little soldiers. 1, 2, 3, 4.
They say we're going to spend $1 trillion this Christmas, believe it or not.
OBG.